Hello, and welcome to Realign Journey, the unfiltered guide to self discovery and reconnection. I'm Sierra Sambrowski, your host, and together we'll deep dive the topics that have caused us to lose touch with ourselves and explore ways to reconnect to our true self. This season, we are actually having guests on to talk about the turning points and the moments in their life that totally realign them. This week, I have with me Pru Aja. Driven by a passion for unlocking human potential, Pru seamlessly blends personal brand strategy, coaching, and photography to help clients realize their fullest expression. As a personal creative director based in Byron Bay, Australia, she specializes in guiding business owners and high achievers to thrive in their zone of genius, achieving alignment and vitality across all areas of life. With a decade of experience in portrait photography and a background in fashion, Prue has earned a reputation for an intuitive approach to visual storytelling, empowering impact driven individuals to elevate their presence and impact. Hi, Prue. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely connecting with you.
It sure has. And we actually have only known each other, I guess, maybe like 2 weeks before this recording.
I know, totally, but we've gone through a lot
I feel like it. I feel like
together.
it. We've definitely connected. And I'm super excited to be here with you and to hear from you. What has been one of the most pivotal, or maybe more than one, moment or point in your life that really shifted the direction that either you thought you were going in or that you actually were going in?
Wow, so that's there's been a couple of points, but one of the ones that comes up that's most prominent that I didn't listen to the whisper, so the universe hurt me. Well, not
Hmm.
hurt me, but gave me the full-on wake-up call. So there's a photo of me when I was 2 years old with a camera. And I remember I used to get my soft toys and put them in the house plants and pretend I was shooting for National Geographic. So
Oh,
I did that from
wow.
a yeah, I did that from a very young age. And I remember I used to look through my hands to kind of frame the world and go, oh, I wish people could see things the way I saw them. And then as a teenager growing up in Byron Bay, I used to do photo shoots of my friends down the beach. And when I got to the end of high school and we had to decide what we're going to do with our career, I was like, well, I want to be a photographer, but it's very male dominant, it's competitive, as if I'm going to make it, all that stuff, which is quite
Hmm.
interesting. Sometimes I still tell myself these things. And so
Mm.
I was like, well, I'm going to be working fashion instead. So I went and studied fashion design. Um, Within a couple of years, I was working with Australia's top fashion photographers, went to London and worked at International Vogue there as a stylist. So I was on set working with these amazing photographers. And then I came back to Australia while I was getting sponsored to stay in London. And then I met my daughter's dad and I was living back in Byron and just surfing, chilling, really just
Hmm.
having a sabbatical. And it came one day we were surfing out at Lennox Head Point, and it's a really rocky point. And I was getting a little bit antsy. I'm like, okay, it's been a year, been chilling out long enough.
Hmm.
And so mind you, I chose staying with this guy and living on the beach over going back to London. And so I was always very career driven, always knew there was something I was meant to do in the world. And we were surfing, and then you kind of have to come in off the waves into the rocks and like jump
Hmm.
onto the rocks. So I jumped on, and it was freezing cold as well. And my foot slipped, and I looked down, and my second toe was like totally bent to the side. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look natural.
Oh, no.
And I kind of hobbled out, and then my partner got out and he's like, that looks really bad. And then the blood started getting in there. And I was like, okay, shit,
Oh.
I think I've broken my toe. And was taken to the hospital. And they were like, what's the pain between 1 and 10? And I was like, you don't want to be, weak and be like, oh, it's 10. I was like, oh, it's 5. And like, come back tomorrow. Went back and my toe had cleanly snapped, like the bone cleanly snapped off.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
So a friend of mine, her mum is, I guess, a white witch, very spiritual. And she's like, it means you're meant to take some time off because you're about to take the next step forward in your life and work out what you're
Mm.
going to do. And so I did. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be a photographer. I've worked alongside these amazing photographers in the world. Now it's my turn to do it. So I looked up what the best photography school in Australia was, and it was RMIT. And I applied and I got in, and that was a very pivotal time in my life. And then have been a photographer now for 14 years. So there was a whole lot of stuff that happened in the 6 months after that as well. But that was like a very clear crossroads where the universe has said, you're not listening to the whispers. We're going to put you on your back so that you can just have some time out and really think about this.
Yeah. I mean, I have always said, and certainly in my personal story, when I've not listened or I didn't recognize that I was to be listening, that basically they kick me in the teeth. And sometimes they also shove me down the stairs. It just depends on how stubborn I'm being or how well I've not been listening or recognizing these things. Um, this this was one of those moments for you.
Oh, totally. It was. And so it wasn't an easy ride from there on in once making the decision, but it's interesting when these things come up and it's a hell yes. And so I
Hmm.
made the decision before the fear and the other shit got in the way. So we packed up the house. We were renting a house and we went on a surf trip to Sumatra, Indonesia, and stopped at his parents' place on the way in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia. And we went sailing and there was no wind. And I was like, oh, I'm so seasick. I never want to go sailing again.
Oh.
And then I got off the boat and I was like, I'm still feeling sick. And so did a pregnancy
Mm.
test in a shopping
Mhm.
center in Kuala Lumpur. And I was like, okay, I'm pregnant. So we're pretty much homeless. I'm changing my career. We're moving to a new city, a new state. We don't know anyone there. Um, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
what? And I'm 25 at this point. So it
Yeah.
was a lot. And also I'd only been with him for a year as well. And then anyway, we went and did our surf trip in Sumatra. I was out there surfing this break called Nias, which is a pretty wild reef surf break, not for the faint-hearted, while being
Mhm.
like probably 2 to 3 months pregnant at that point. And yeah, then we came back, um, went to Melbourne, and because I was pregnant, I started studying because I was pregnant, no one would give me a job. So
Mm.
I was like, well, fuck everyone. I'm going to start my own business and never going. And I actually announced out loud, I'm never going to work for anyone ever again. And I started a kids' party business at that point, and
Okay.
it was called Pretty Little Things Parties, where they got to make jewelry. So they were making pretty little things. And then when I was 8 months pregnant, my dad died suddenly, and he
Oh
was
my
like my best
gosh.
friend. So it was a very full on year, and just been like, not having any family support or friends in Melbourne. I had my uni friends, but they were so much younger than me. And yeah, it was a very dark time, a time when, having a baby should be beautiful and blissful and amazing. Well, that's how they made it out back then. I'm glad there's a lot more honesty around how
Hmm.
fucking hard it is having a
Yeah.
baby and breastfeeding, and like that it's not, doesn't feel natural for everyone.
Right.
So
Right.
it was a very big year. So I'd say that was one of my pivotal years.
Holy hell, I guess it was pivotal. Like that was a whole lot of things. Like you had the physical injury, you had the total realignment professionally, and you found out you were pregnant, and you started another business, and you lost your dad. I
Yeah.
mean, that's about a lifetime worth of shit in 1 year, honestly, Prue.
That
Honestly.
was from November to June. Yeah, in 2010. And I was 25, so it's weird. It wasn't my Saturn returns, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is my Saturn returns. Like, because otherwise I don't want to do that. I don't want to Saturn
Mm-hmm.
returns on the other
Yeah.
side. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. And 2 weeks after my daughter was born, I rolled her into uni in a stroller. I was like, let's go.
And that's when you went back to school.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my
And
goodness.
then yeah, and did my photography career.
And so you never worked for anybody else ever again.
No, I did help a friend last year because I moved back to Byron Bay 18 months ago. She owns a chocolate factory, and at Christmas time, I did help pack some chocolates. That was probably the only
Does
time, but I
that
still
count?
invoiced her. So yeah, haven't actually had a job. There's been times I'm like, oh my God, seriously, this running a business thing, fuck this, like wearing all the hats, the up and down flow of money. Do I do I want consistency? But then the idea of going to the same place every day, doing the same thing, 40 hours, like 40 hours a week, that is a lot of work. That's a lot of time. That's your life giving
Yeah.
away. And for me, freedom is one of my top values. So it's like, no matter what, I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things that I was thinking about that I was going to ask you about. I mean, all of this sounds very adventurous, honestly. I mean, you took a giant sabbatical, you're just out surfing. The surfing alone is, especially in the parts of the world that you're doing it in, is very adventurous all on its own. Like, then just decided, yeah, what the hell? I'm gonna move way across and I'm gonna go back to college and oh, and I'm gonna have a baby, and I'm gonna start like there's a very adventurous spirit in you. Do you recognize that?
I definitely am, yeah, spontaneous and adventurous. Like if a friend called me and said, "Hey, do you want to go climb Kilimanjaro next month?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm there. I'll do anything just to make it happen." Like it's really important for me to experience life. When I was a kid, I had a poster of the world map on my wall, and I used to just look and go, "Oh my God, we're this tiny little dot here, and there's this whole world." And I think that really ignited my spirit to want to go and explore the world and meet people and see how other people live. Like I'm a very curious person and
Mm-hmm.
want to know everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Do you think the curiosity has gotten you into better situations or worse situations?
I can't say I've been in any bad situations really. Like a lot of shit has happened. Um, no, I feel like the curiosity just keeps opening your world up more
Mm-hmm.
to
I don't
learning and
disagree with you, but I just was curious. I was curious about your
yeah.
curiosity. I was wondering if you found because it can have a negative connotation. There, like, I actually have often said that I was nosy. I always refer to myself as being nosy, but the reality is that I've really just been curious. And
Yes. Yeah.
so it's not necessarily gotten me into any kind of trouble either. And I do know people that feel like their curiosity has gotten them into more trouble or sideline them or they've had some kind of more pushback in life because of it. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah. Maybe following my curiosity has led me to, uh, I was going to say dealing with things aftermath, like probably spending too much money on going on a trip or something, and coming back and go, oh, well, I probably shouldn't have spent that much money. But anyway, but I always just think as well, I don't want to be on my deathbed and go, oh my God, I wish I did that trip to Antarctica. I wish I went to Mexico. Like, why didn't I do that? I just stayed at home and I've got a fear of not doing enough actually. And
Uh-huh.
I do have a lot of people in my life going, wow, you do so much. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to die knowing that I didn't do everything that I wanted to do. But
Yeah.
something, people say nearly every single day, someone goes, that's a really good question. Like I do ask people questions that make them dive a little bit deeper and think a little bit more about the world. So, and I think my curiosity helps me in my work. Like it's been able to really open up areas of people that they haven't thought about before. So before I take
Mm,
their photos or when I'm coaching them to really get underneath this surface of what their facade that they're showing. It's like, well, it's
mm,
really in there and under there. So I think it's been a bit of a superpower, actually.
mm-hmm. And do you use it on yourself?
Probably not enough.
Mm-hmm. Like all of us. You were asking me earlier, just before we started this, about like, you know, do I use my superpowers on me, right? And I was like, well, I'm still having a human experience. So not always. The intuitive stuff does come through for me. But so that's part of why, again, I'm curious. That is one of your superpowers is to be able to know the right questions and know how to help people put down their masks. And I'm wondering, have you applied that to yourself?
Hmm. No. I need
A lot of
to.
work. I'm gonna say, look, I don't know you, but I do intuitively know that you have in a lot of ways. While you might feel like you have more to reveal about yourself,
Mm.
have you not? Do you
Well,
recognize that you've done a lot of kind of shedding the shoulds and shedding the masks that
actually,
people wanted you to wear?
yeah, I do a lot of journaling and, that helps me process stuff. And if you see my bookshelf, like it's just full of personal development and spiritual books up there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have gotten rid of quite a few because I was like, okay, this looks like I'm a bit of a crazy person. But ever since I was 18, a book literally fell out of the shelf on me, a Deepak Chopra book, Spontaneous
Ooh,
Fulfillment of Desire.
okay, I'm
And
like,
that,
which one? Okay. Because I have boxes. You think your little shelf, I have
uh,
boxes of personal development and spiritual development. And I have like five Deepak Chopra books. So,
oh, okay. Well, Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire was my very first kind of opening to that realm of how you create your future. And it was interesting. I was getting my car fixed in Sydney, and I was having a little bit, this was just kind of as I was entering my styling career. And in that position going, oh, is anyone going to hire me and stuff? And anyway, I was
Mhm.
getting my car fixed to the mechanic and I thought I'll just go to the library. And literally the book was like, fell into my hands. I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. And I sat down at the window, opened it, read the first page. I was like, oh my God, this is everything I need right now. And I looked up and there was a rainbow and I was like, come on,
Oh,
like
wow.
what? So I got a library membership then and there and took that book. And I think I didn't actually return it, but I gave it to someone else and I've bought multiple copies. So naughty. Because it was such a good book. But that's when it started. And then, I've just kept exploring all that. At the moment, I'm listening to a book about energetics, your energetic body. And um, so yeah, having that curiosity around that. Where was I going with that? I can't remember what the original question was.
I was
Anyway, it's a great.
asking, do you think that it's helped you? Do you apply your curiosity to yourself and is it helps you with clients to get them to take off their masks and go deeper? Have you applied it to yourself and does it help you has it helped you take off masks and go deeper in yourself?
Yeah, I feel like personally, I feel like there's only so deep you can go on yourself. I feel like it really needs to be mirrored back to you, and it's important to work with
Hmm.
therapists, coaches, mentors, plant medicine, like whatever your calling is. Um, I feel like sometimes to get to that really deeper layer, it does need to be reflected back to you, and they help you dig that little bit further than what you take yourself. Because they're like, that's when I'm photographing someone, I'm like, no, that's not you. Like, don't give me
Hmm.
that shit. Like that, you're not having those photos because that's
Yeah.
not who you really are. Like, let's be real right now. and bring out that true essence. Or when I'm coaching someone and they say something and they just let it slip and they keep talking, and I'm like, we're going to go back to that little thing that you mentioned just then that you just tried to shove
Mm-hmm.
under the carpet and pretend wasn't there. So, I have done a lot of work on myself, but I have worked a lot with different people and modalities to do the work. And I think the biggest part is actually awareness.
Mm.
So when something's happening, or when I catch myself doing something, I'll start going down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, hey, let's just pull back and have a bit of perspective on this situation. What's really happening here? Is
Mm-hmm.
this Where's this coming from? And yeah, like for example, someone that I'm seeing at the moment, there was an issue that he was having, and then I was kind of like trying to fix the issue and
Mm.
went down that road. And it's like, and then I caught myself and I'm like, actually, he didn't ask me to fix this. It's actually none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to pull back and apologize for, yeah, going somewhere that someone didn't invite me to. But he
Yeah.
didn't care. But it was just, sometimes people can project their own opinions or information or want to help you when you're not actually inviting them to help you as well. So
Mm-hmm.
building is constant lessons. But I do find a lot of the stuff that comes up in the lessons for me is when people have caught me out. So this one guy I was living with once, and he would get home from work and then we would talk, and then he would talk and he goes, do you realize I listen to you, but you don't listen to me? You just kind of make yourself busy and walk away. And I'm so grateful he told me that, because it made me realize I used to be a really shit listener. And
Mm.
and then I really practiced being a better listener. It's twice as much work to be a good listener than to be a talker. So
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I pride myself in, being a good listener.
Yeah. Wow. You've just now mentioned several things being reflected back to you as being like some of the greatest lessons that you've learned.
Yeah. So I feel like it's in relationship with others.
Yeah. That's been the thing that you would say, this is a question, that you would say is has been the most revealing to you about yourself is relationships with others.
I think so. Because I don't know if you know that you're doing something, when you're by yourself, and that's why it's so easy just to be by yourself and not go out into the
Mm-hmm.
world too much or be in a relationship, because you can just go along life and don't have to worry about anyone or compromise or any of that. But then, it happens with friends and in intimate relationships and with your
Yeah.
children, everything. But when someone comes in and they're like, hey, that doesn't make me feel good, or did you know that you do this? And then it brings that awareness and go, whoa, I didn't realize I did that. Looking at where that actually came from. How do I clear
Mm-hmm.
that up? How can I shift myself to be better?
Yeah.
Actually, that just reminds me. In year 7 or 8 in high school, I was friends with all the different cliche groups, the surfy group, the homies, the goths. Like I'm a people lover, so I was friends with everyone. But there was always, so much bitching as there is with teenagers. And I remember I was like, right, we're going to sit in a circle and we're going to go around, and each person's going to say what annoys you about another person. And people were just like, no, we're not. We are
I'm like,
not doing.
you organized this?
Yeah, I was like, I want to know what annoys, like why people, what annoys people about me so that I can work on it. This is when I was 13, and people were
Yeah.
just like, no, 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 we're not doing
Yeah.
that.
But see, that's an example of A, your curiosity, and B, your desire to be constantly improving yourself. I mean, at 13 years old, to be saying and thinking, well, I want to know what annoys other people so that I can work on that is like, seems like light years. I mean, what 13-year-old is, you were already doing like self work, right?
I know it is actually crazy to think about that. They all thought I was crazy. Um, it's interesting because you've got a daughter as well, and I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but it's kind of for me, it's seeing a mini me growing up, and it's healing parts of myself. But I am just blown away by my daughter. She has such incredibly strong boundaries. She knows what she's willing to do and not willing to do, who she's willing to give her time and energy to and not. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I had those boundaries. Probably like learning them now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely the same. And now out my daughter is going to be 30. She's about to be 30. So yeah. So we're at a very different phase now. But for sure, s- definitely by the time she was a teenager, but even in her 20s, and as she's like starting her own family, she has three little boys. You know, it is definitely something that I feel like all the time she reflects back to me the things that she does so much better than I did at those ages, and like lessons and patterns and things that I don't want to say she's has it easier, because I just think her shit looked different than mine.
I wonder if it's because, as these generations keep going and we are doing the work from past generations to heal stuff that's being passed on, like that shows the work that you've done and haven't passed on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, something I learned from doing plant ceremony was both my parents had drug addiction problems, and my mum actually died when I was 14. Not from that, she was clean by then, but yeah, I always struggled with it. And then when I did this, I learned that they were their individual souls coming to have their experience and do the things that they needed to do in their lifetime. And I was born, and this is what I learned. It may be true or not, but what I felt like I helped them heal and overcome their addictions. I gave them a purpose. And then when I had my daughter, what I didn't receive from my parents, which was love and affection, they weren't very affectionate. They're kind of, caught up in their worlds, is my daughter was so loving and affectionate. And I feel like your children are your teachers.
Mm-hmm.
We show them how to eat and do the basic human needs, but they actually come through and teach us and heal us from the stuff that we didn't learn from the previous generation as well.
100%. 100%. In fact, I was on somebody else's show and they were saying, dead or alive, who's the most influential person to you in your life? And I said, I know it sounds cliche, but it's my daughter,
Mm.
because of all the things you just said. Because, so I had my daughter when I was 17. I actually had her on my 17th birthday. We have the same birthday. And
Wow.
yeah, and I won't go into it, the whole thing, but the point is that I was not really your stereotypical teenage mother, and I thought my whole life was I, I everything that I had planned and worked very diligently and super like type A obsessively about for myself was now completely wiped off the table, right? Because this wasn't part of my plan, and I literally had written out a plan and a timeline for my life at 12.
Hmm.
Um So this was all completely different. And again, we talked earlier about like my intuition and how I knew. And I didn't recognize it at the time because I didn't understand it. But I literally kept hearing over and over and over again that my daughter was a gift from God, that this was meant to change my life, to help make me who I needed to be and who the
Hmm.
world needed me to be. And so here I am, 16, like, I was working, I was going to school, I was supposed to go to college, like all these things. You're overwhelmed. But throughout all of her life, she has always shown me a better way to show up, a better way to be human, over and over and over again, over and over again. So she's absolutely changed my life and healed me. And like you said, there were so many things that I didn't know how to give her or how to be with her. So, is there a certain degree of repeating some of my parents' mistakes? Of course. And they suck. And I apologize. 30 years old, I'm still always like, honey, I'm so sorry. I didn't do that better. But it made me better. It did make me better. And
Mm,
it really did heal me in a lot of ways to know that there could be different dynamics and that I could be different.
yeah. Yeah,
We're
it's easy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know. And actually talking about this makes me think, I think so much of what I carried. So I'm want to ask you if this was your experience. So much of what I carried was I was really afraid to repeat certain behaviors and certain mistakes and certain things that I saw in my mother in particular. And so there was a lot of fear that and like trying to figure out how to counterbalance that. And then it led to the
Oh,
healing of it. But was that you
because it
too?
actually feels like it's in your DNA almost. So my mum left me when I was 2 and moved to England for 2 years. And so when my daughter was little, I just had this thing. I was like, just leave, just run away. And I was like, hey, that's not my story. That was my mum's story. And just like
Mm,
it was like this energy of like, okay, you just go now. You can just leave when you want. And it's actually like, well, no, I'm gonna have to work through that and realize it's not my stuff and
mhm,
rewrite the story and do it a different way. But it is interesting. It happened last night. Actually, we had a little bit of a tiff, and I literally heard my mum come through me.
mhm,
Like, oh my goodness, I thought I cleared that out. But like when I get angry, I can hear her.
mhm,
And it's very rare. I rarely, rarely get angry. But if something gets me, I'm like, yeah, don't mess with me.
mhm. Oh, listen, that will not go away. That will not stop just because your daughter gets older. I still, at this point, like some days I will, same thing, something will like trigger me, not necessarily in an angry way. It's usually like for me, it comes out when I want to be controlling, to be very
Mm,
honest. Because I think I want to protect her or I want her to make a better choice, the choice that I would make. That's the honest answer, right? But it's and so yeah, I absolutely hear my mother come out and then I'm like I will literally say to her, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That was my mom's name's Debbie." So I'm like, "That was a grandma Debbie." Like, so sorry. I hear it in myself now. I hear it in
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, you hear that voice coming through.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an experience, definitely the biggest mirror. And
Yeah.
like no one triggers me as much as her, but it's like it's triggers are like pointing out the parts of you that need to be healed and worked on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
They're
so you
our
kind of want them.
compass.
It brings the awareness to it. And like we were talking about before, is that mirror. It kind of has to be mirrored to you so that you can see it. Otherwise, you're just on your own doing your own thing and nothing really
Yeah.
happened. Well, no, stuff does come up, but I find for me it's through people.
Yeah, for sure. So you just brought up about the whole point about like these triggers and emotions are really comp in difficult things are really sort of guideposts for us to recognize that okay, that's something that needs to be healed. Where, when, how did you learn that? Because that's something that has taken me a long time to fully get into.
Oh, I'm not sure how that came about. Maybe it could have been when I was with my daughter's dad and I was seeing a psychologist and she pointed things out. But sometimes I just hear things that I say or do and go, oh, that's a bit yucky. I don't want to be like
Mm,
that. And then that's when I guess the curiosity comes in and goes, what was that about? Where's that from? Or
yeah.
someone will say it to me. And like luckily I've got lifelong friends and we're very open and honest and they will just say, that's not cool. Why'd you say that? Or that doesn't make me feel good. And I'd be like, oh my God, thank you for being honest with me. That's not something that I want to do anymore. And
Yeah.
that's why I think it's really important to pull people up on their shit. If someone doesn't make you feel good, like let them know because they might not realize that they're actually doing it. And I know if someone's triggering me or like I don't like what they're doing, I might shut down and pull back from them. And it happened last month, and a friend was like, "What's going on? I can feel this like energetic, you're pulling away." And that opened up the conversation to go, "Well, when you do this, I feel like this." And we could work through it.
Hmm.
And I think it's so important to do that stuff rather than letting it build up and then getting to the point of, if it's an intimate relationship, wanting to break up with someone, you know, sitting down and making space and time for these conversations and going, hey, once a month, let's like just do a check-in, see where you're at. Is kind of like the circle with my high school friends, doing that with
Hmm.
your partner or your friend, just going, where are you at? How are you feeling about things? Kind of like I've never actually worked in a corporate company or really had a job, but you have staff meetings or meetings with your boss and you have your KPIs and they go, how are you feeling? Is anything needs to change? I noticed this, you know, those actual check-ins
Yeah.
and daily check-ins with yourself in journaling. How am I feeling today? Setting the intention of how I want to feel today. What will make today great?
Mm, I like that. That was actually one of the things I was gonna say is like you're talking about doing these check-ins with these other people in these relationships. How often are you checking in with yourself? Often and not you specifically, more of like the
Mm.
collective you, because I think very few people, but again, this points back to you have an incredible sense of self-awareness and wanting to self-improve from so young.
Yeah, I think it's in my chart. Apparently, I'm very hard on myself.
Is that where it came from? I was gonna say, because you've just mentioned that both of your parents were drug addicted when you were younger.
Yeah.
So
Or they
you
were,
weren't
yeah.
it's not like somebody was like, come on, Prue, let's, you know, make sure that we're healthy and good and giving you this
Oh,
supportive environment for you to explore yourself and be free and open with your emotions. I can't
there was none
imagine.
of that.
Yeah, I'm
None of
sure
that.
not.
Like they weren't really there. And we didn't have any other family members. And, there's parts of me that has this little bit of pain going, why didn't anyone come and save me?
Hmm.
And that's why that quote, no one's coming to save you, is just a good reminder because at the end of the day, it is just you. So it is hard for me. Well, I have the awareness around it, but in relationships where I find it hard to let people in because, I couldn't trust my parents. I wasn't safe for me as a kid. I wasn't seen and heard. And that's why my podcast is called Seen and Heard, because whatever you didn't receive as a child becomes your superpower as a adult. So as a photographer and a coach, I make space for people to be seen and heard and step
Mm,
into their power. But going back to, yeah, it wasn't like, how are you feeling today, Prue? Is there anything like,
right.
what are your emotions? And learning to feel your feelings, like that didn't come around till my early 30s. Like, what's
But
that?
how did you get there? I mean, you had a very dysfunctional childhood. Like I said, we're hearing about it at 13. You want to have like kumbaya with your friends and be like, okay, everybody, reflect back to me what I need to work on. Was it more from a like a hypervigilance place? Like when you look back at that, was it because
Mm.
you were afraid like they had now become a sense of safety and security to you and you were like, I need to figure out how to not upset them so they don't leave me?
Yes, they don't abandon me. Maybe it
Is
was
that what it
that. It was
was?
fear of being abandoned. I don't know. You're kind of like therapizing me to get to where, where this came from.
I'm more
Um,
curious about it. I mean, there's a part of me that thinks a little bit, yeah, a little bit. Is that what it was?
yeah, probably, that fear because my mum did leave when I was 2 and literally just dumped me at her sister's house who was only 16. And um, yeah, like that's how I thought love was, that people, if they loved you, they left you.
Mm,
And so that's how I tend to sabotage relationships as well. Because like, oh, you're going to leave me one day, so I might as well. If you don't, I'll make you.
hmm.
But yeah, maybe
Or I'll
that's where
cut
it
and
came
run
from.
first.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So as a teenager, just like wanting to have healthier relationships, and I don't know, maybe it was a fear thing because I was friends with everyone. And even now, like I know all my neighbors. I can't walk to the shops without having a chat with someone, which I actually really enjoy and love. And my daughter cringes. She's like, "Oh, do you have
Mm-hmm.
to talk to everyone?" But maybe that's a bit of a trauma response too, is just wanting to be connected. And yeah, but I do just want people to feel seen and
Yeah.
loved and have their greatness reflected back to them as well. Like if you uplift, one person each day and then they're going to spread that and uplift a few other people, then that's how we're going to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. So I don't
I
know,
feel
maybe
like
I just want to heal the world.
I was gonna say, I think, yeah, I don't think it's a trauma response thing necessarily. Maybe it started out that way, but I think for sure you've now evolved into a place where being able to, just as you've already said, being able to really see and hear even strangers on the street or the neighbors or the people in the shops, whatever, i- is like your superpower.
Yeah, it's interesting. And people actually always come up to me. They're always like, "Do I know you?" Like at random events and places. Have we met before? Or they would just open the floodgates and tell me all of their stuff. And I'm like, don't really have the capacity for this right now, but okay. And actually, that's probably been my more recent, like what I've had to learn the last couple of years is like how to hold space and hear someone, but also have the boundaries and go, okay, this isn't probably the right time and space to share with me about your biggest traumas. Um, but there's a natural thing that happens, and I think that's something that I'm going to evolve and step into as well, and be able to help people with, which I think we've actually talked about. But I need to learn, yeah, how to hold space for people in that and help them through it.
Well, you just kind of tipped off. And if anybody saw the video of this, they would see my face when you were just saying that. Because everything's always on my face. But that's what I was going to say to you. That's always been my experience. I'm the same thing in that I loved connecting with people. Because I think I was always able to hold, even as a kid, hold space with them and often adults, and that made them feel seen and heard. And so
Mm.
again, even as a kid, people wanted to like tell me all kinds of stuff that they should not be telling children. And like I've people I can remember being at a job interview for uh it was a second job. I was actually going for a second job right after my divorce. And this woman that was in the like waiting to be interviewed like I was starts telling me all this stuff. And I literally looked at her and I was like, I I appreciate that you feel like you want to tell me this, but I don't think you should be talking about this in public. I don't think you should be telling a stranger this. Like she was telling me some crazy shit she had like was doing to her boyfriend, like she'd like cut the screen and broke into his house, like all kinds of, and I was like,
Oh.
okay, you really should not be. And I've had that happen so many times in my life. And what I was going to say to you, like what was going through my head when I was hearing you talk about this is I believe truly that that is part of how we know that we are meant to be healers in this world. Because I think
Mm.
that's exactly where that comes from. I think it's an inherent ability and energy that we hold within ourselves that allows people to feel safe and heard and seen. So it makes them say all the stuff they're not supposed to tell strangers.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So I guess that's a part of my journey then learning about what type of healing or what that looks like. And
Yeah. It's the mark.
mm,
It's what I call the mark of the healer. Whenever anybody says to me, all these people always come to me, they always think they know me, they tell me all kinds of things, and I've never even met them before, and they shouldn't probably tell people. And I'm like, you're a healer. Whether and that can look in all kinds of different ways, right? Like people heal
yeah.
other people in all kinds of ways. But I would have to say, Prue, that especially if it seems like it's occurring more recently and it's showing
Mm,
up in a different way, in a bigger way.
yeah, it's interesting. We'll see what happens with it. I actually had
Mhm.
someone come to me wanting to take photos of them as they were going through a healing process,
Oh,
naked.
wow.
Yeah. So, and I've never shared those photos. She's happy for me to share them, but there's just like so much, they're very intense.
So there was another healer. I want to know about this. So there was another healer there, and she was receiving the healing, and you were photographing it?
Oh, no, no, no. It was a client had gone through a really nasty divorce,
Mm-hmm.
and had lost a lot of weight and had a lot of trauma. And so her body had just changed a lot, and she wanted to capture that moment of how much her body had changed.
Oh.
And yeah, so,
Like what
and
the
there was a
healed
moment,
version of her was.
yeah, like the kind of capturing this transformation. And then she looked at the photos because I shoot it to my computer, and she looked and then just burst out crying. And then I photographed her crying from seeing it. So it was like
Mm.
very cathartic, powerful experience that happened in my lounge room. Um, yeah, it was interesting. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's something in this that was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. She felt very healed through the whole process as well. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I put this on my website and go, I heal you through photography? And
I mean, it's the theme of what you keep saying, which is ourselves are reflected back to us. You just
mm,
reflect back to people in a photograph,
yeah,
but it's them. It just
yeah,
gives
yeah.
them
I've
the
had people
opportunity to
cry
see themselves
multiple.
different.
Yeah, I've had people cry multiple times when I take their photos because they're like, "Is that really me?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's you. Like, it's how amazing you are." And
Hmm.
everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not photogenic. I don't like being in front of the camera. I hate posing." And I'm like, "Well, you've come to the right place then."
Hmm.
Because that's what I
Yeah.
help. And yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Are you comfortable in front of the camera?
I'm very picky about who takes my photo and find it really hard to get photos that I like
Hmm.
because no one does what I do. Like there's actually no one, and that's why when clients are like, "Can you refer someone?" I'm like, I don't really know who can do what I do. But, here's some photographers that do similar stuff, but a different way. Yeah.
Hmm. But for you, not so much. You're not going to step in front of the camera
I
if you
do
don't have to.
self-portraits, but obviously I'm not having someone reflect back to me
Yeah.
who I am. So it's kind of like, yeah, there's the one photo that I do absolutely love. A photographer took it when I was running a lighting workshop, and that's the photo that's on my podcast cover and on
Mm.
my website. And I'm like, I think that's the only photo I like of myself. So,
Well, that is very interesting. Before I have you share all the ways that people can connect with you and follow you and learn about you, I have one question before we end. If you were going to reflect back something that you've learned most deeply, what would it be?
something that I've learned most deeply. Um, well, your reality is a reflection of your thoughts. So your thoughts create your
Mm,
reality. So be careful what you think, you say, and you do. And
yeah.
re recently I've learned about, that words are made through spelling. It's a spell.
Mm.
So what you
Hmm.
put out is what you receive. So that was something I did learn quite young, was being really cautious of what you actually say. And when I do say things like, I have no money, I'm like, hey, what? Blah, blah, blah. Let's just rewind that
Hmm.
and change the way I say that. And it's been something I've made sure to say with my daughter. I remember my parents always saying we don't have any money. And to make sure, if she wants something, or just be like, that's not a priority this week. We'll get it next week. Just changing the way I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good
Mhm.
stuff. Prue, tell everybody how they can follow you, connect with you, learn about what it is that you do and what you offer.
So, if you want to connect with me on more of a personal lifestyle level, that's probably Instagram. So it's pruaja.co. And then LinkedIn, I share more of my professional work. And then you've got my website and my podcast as well. So I'm sure you'll pop the link in the bio to my website and you can find everything there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll put it in all the show notes too, and we'll tag you when we release the episode. So, thank you so
Awesome.
much for being here. Thank you for sharing all of your wonderful stories.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. I just hope that yeah, it helps someone think differently and or helps them on their pathway.
I'm sure that it will. I'm very sure it will.
Thanks for having me.
Sojourners, thank you so much for joining us on another episode. I will see you on the next one.